Holiday shopping is here, and Amazon Live has got you covered. Shop for the perfect gift from the comfort of your home with Amazon Live's shoppable video experience. Discover the hottest products from influencers and shop while you watch. This season, join Candy Burris from Real Housewives in her holiday Amazon Live series, Generation Face Off, where Candy, her mom, Mama Joyce, and daughter Riley share their favorite stocking stuffers and go-to gifts across fashion, beauty, and more. Watch and shop new episodes of Candy's series Generation Face Off now by going to amazon.com/candylive. That's amazon.com/candylive. For a limited time, use promo code CANDYLIVE for $5 off an eligible product featured on the first episode of the series. That's KANDILIVE. Promotion expires on December 25th, 2024. Limited supply of goods. Terms and conditions apply. For full promotion terms and conditions, go to amazon.com/candyterms.
It took a lifetime to find the person you want to marry. Finding the perfect engagement ring is a lot easier. At BlueNile.com, you can find or design the ring you've always dreamed of with help from Blue Nile's jewelry experts who are on hand 24/7 to answer questions, and the ease and convenience of shopping online. For a limited time, get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code LISTEN at BlueNile.com. That's $50 off with code LISTEN at BlueNile.com.
Hello everybody, it's the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB, here in the Rugby Dungeon with Tim Cocker. Hello, Tim.
Hello JB, hello Phil.
Hello JB, hello Tim.
Hello Phil.
How
are we all?
Are we in like play school or something?
Yes. Do you remember that game? And it's like, what was it? Sam meet John, John meet Sam.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's one of those like memory type games.
Yeah.
When I went to the supermarket, I bought.
Exactly.
It's one of those, isn't it?
Don't they do it? Isn't it?
There's G'day.
Nick Farr Jones. Is that?
No. So there's G'day Bruce.
G'day Bruce is great.
G'day Bruce. Say G'day to Sheila Bruce.
Yeah.
And then there's Nick Farr Jones, which is Roman numeral counting, where.
Yes, it is, isn't
Nick
it?
is I, Farr is V, Jones is X.
Yeah. So Nick,
probably when
Nick, Farr Nick. Is it? Or Nick Farr?
Nick Farr Nick,
Yeah.
Nick.
That's one. You go always
Nick
with
Jones.
I would be hammered and I still not have a clue what's going on.
We are off to a blazing start this week, gentlemen. A blazing
You
start.
can use that one at your next rugby social, that drinking game.
Yeah.
Oh dear. In fact, we might have to refresh it. Are there any new drinking games these days?
Don't think so. I think they're going the same way.
Is it toxic masculinity? Get all those drinking games out of rugby.
Well, I think it's all coming back, and I'll tell you why. Because of the RFU results and what's his name's pay.
Bill Sweeney.
Bill Sweeney's pay.
Oh, we're gonna have
and
to.
I think
we're gonna have to talk about
the
that.
woke house of cards is going to come crumbling down.
Get woke, go broke.
Indeed. But to answer your question about the drinking games, they've broadly speaking gone the way of the drinking song. Like, I think there's two guys in Didsbury Talk H that know any drinking songs. One is me, and I've not.
The Chicago Old Department Store.
Yeah, I've not polished them off for a long time.
I used to love making those really topical.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there used to be a rule, right? You can only sing it if you've made it up on the spot right now. Right now.
Like, and now you've just said that, I'm just thinking, the amount of mileage you could get out of Epstein, Diddy with that.
God. It's a new era, isn't it?
Yeah. We've got loads more material. Even Stuart Lancaster and Owen Farrell, you could get mileage out of that.
Hang on. Wrap her in shame. Wrap her in shame. Wrap her in shame. There's definitely a verse here. Wrap her in shame. Anyway, the other guy who knows drinking songs is Neil Wilkinson. He's 47, or maybe even 48 now. And all the lads would look at us like, what are you singing? Who's a very fine accountant? What?
It could be Joelle Abt went into a Chicago department store. Big D she wanted, Blitz D she got.
Oh, love it.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, there's no other podcast starting like this.
No.
Contact eggchasers@gmail.com to get in touch with any more verses of that song that are very topical. In fact, that might be a good thing That might be a good
that'd be
thing
amazing.
to do.
Yeah, and then maybe bring it back. I mean,
Very topical. Chicago department store versus, please.
do you know what? One of the reasons why it might be dying out is because of this toxic attitude that, lads don't want to commit anymore. And because they don't want to commit, I mean, maybe it's different for me because I grew up in Wales and every other weekend was at least an hour on a bus, and we'd have a bus every other weekend. Because so-called we don't want to commit culture, which I don't believe is true, very rarely did Broughton Park get a bus. And I don't think Didsbury have had a bus for maybe a couple of years. And what do you do without a bus?
Yeah, that's a great shout.
You know, you got to make your own entertainment. And also, when you didn't have iPhones, you did actually have to make your own entertainment.
Yeah,
didn't
you're
you?
right.
Yeah,
Like, you know, you can just plug in and watch some Instagram reels and whatnot. But back in the day,
Get your giant wireless headphones on.
yeah, you had to sort of create all sorts of, like, running over the back of all of the chairs naked, or all these games.
Oh, do you know, a Manchester Rugby Club favourite was just simply back row, cheese and port.
Exactly right. The cheese board, yeah, brilliant.
Cheese board with port on the back row.
Or Edward Cider Hands, something
Edward
like that.
Cider Hands.
yes.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, you can get more content at patreon.com/EggChasers, and it may possibly be the case that we touch on Bill Sweeney and the RFU on this one and go deeper, possibly on the Patreon podcast.
Yeah. Well, you know who wasn't playing Edward Cider Hands on the bus this weekend?
Well, you played at home. Or, well, not home, but close to home.
Yes. Well, kind of like home. Kind of
Your second home.
Yeah, I mean, when we played, Didsbury's a fortress.
Yeah.
And Burnage. Didsbury and Burnage. No, Saracens were not playing Edward Cider Hands on the way home.
No.
They would not have been.
That's a long bus journey home.
Yeah, particularly when you've got use for your hands. So,
I've got to say, fair play, that's 2 more wins than I honestly... Well, not on... I thought they could get wins, but...
I thought they could get wins, yeah.
I thought they could get wins, but 2 more wins than I imagined they would have at this point, certainly.
I did not. I think I went on record as saying I don't think they'll get a win. I think that would be 2 full seasons without a win.
Yep.
So fair play to Dimes and fair play to the Newcastle lads who are turning up and putting their bodies on the line.
what a Jedi Master that man is.
And that was a pretty full-strength Saracens.
Yeah,
They were missing
were
a few, but not many.
Yeah. So, just looking at it again, they obviously were targeting a couple of lads. Probably, I thought, just by watching it, I couldn't tell you if this is actually true. It looked like they were targeting Theo Dan, and it looked like they were trying to keep Tom Willis down, which was kind of semi-successful because he scored towards the end. But I thought, I wonder if they are doing that, because that's exactly what teams do to Newcastle. They target
Callum Chick.
Jamie Blamire all of the time.
And Radwan.
Yeah, but some of the things which they did were just remarkable. And I think they did it because they've got players with true character. I think Sammy Arnold has true character. I really do. The way that boy plays is great. I can't believe I knew nothing about him. And every time he plays, he does something. I absolutely love him. And who's the other one that stood out? There's another one.
Surely you got to mention your boy, your scrum half lad.
That obviously.
Never didn't get a look in.
Didn't get a look in
his 100 appearances before that.
Adam Radwan was ace.
Yeah.
Adam Radwan was really, really good. Some of the rugby that they played was genuinely very good. And they could have scored more. That's the thing. They could have scored more. So
Fair play. Fair play. Credit where it's due for Diamond.
I think there's a lot of... Sorry, go on.
I did see during the week a headline that I wasn't particularly impressed by from Diamond, which was a direct quote, calling other teams parasites for wanting to pay his players
more money,
what they're worth, which I think is a bit like you can be annoyed at your inability to pay. But to accuse the other clubs of wanting to pay the lads a fair salary and calling them parasites was a bit much.
Before Diamond showed up, they had Trevor Davidson. Trevor Davidson was meant to go to Northampton a little earlier than he originally did. And Newcastle scuppered the move. Now, some people say, well, hang on a minute. I
think he did go earlier than he was meant to.
No, he didn't. He was meant to go...
partway through the season.
Yeah, partway through the season. And literally, he was meant to go...
Well, he didn't he?
No, he didn't in the end.
I can't remember.
Yeah, well, I know this because I knew lads in the team at the time. And he was meant to go. And they said, no, you can't, even though it's like 3 times his salary or something ridiculous. And I don't know where I stand on that. Yeah, he is an employee. But if you're not serious about winning the league, and you've never been serious... I mean, it's not that they're not serious about winning the league. I mean, you could say that Gloucester are serious about winning the league. But when you're right at the bottom, and you know you've got no chance of winning the league, let them go.
I would come back from that and go, well, if they were willing to pay him 3 times his wages, pay Newcastle a little bit for letting him go early.
Yeah,
and if they weren't willing to splash out a bit on They could have changed that spectrum, that dial a little bit towards Newcastle.
Do you know what's a real shame?
Newcastle.
You know what's a real shame? It's a shame, right, that teams cannot sell their salary cap. So, like this year, Newcastle can't afford to pay all their players. Well, sorry, that's not right.
Oh, Steve Lansdowne would have it from anyone.
Well, yeah, you just buy it off Exeter.
No, they don't need it though this year. Top of the league.
Well, quite, yeah. So, but wouldn't it be cool to see teams selling their salary cap or buying future year's salary cap? So you trade it. So yeah, you can have 100k from us, but we want it next year.
Yeah, so
plus some inflation.
So I wouldn't like draft picks.
I wouldn't have the selling because that does it changes the balance of the league. The league is brilliant because it's broadly equal across the 10 teams, with a couple of exceptions. Yeah. So I wouldn't have the haves being able to buy from the have-nots.
Well, so I would correct you because it's a trade-off, isn't it? So it's brilliant. By brilliant, you mean it's competitive.
It's competitive,
but the ceiling is lower.
Is lower
as a result.
Yeah, it is lower.
So the overall quality that Bristol could be if Steve Lansdowne was allowed to spend his money.
Well, I would do. You can balance. You have like a 5-year balance of salary caps. So if it's 7 million per year, you have 35 million that you can spend over any given 5-year period. And if you weigh it lighter at the front end, then you can back end it. So like Exeter now,
could use the surplus in future years. I like that idea.
So that's it's all within your gift.
Yeah,
I went to see a client of mine the other day, Beard Monco, independent financial advisors, pensions, investments, that kind of thing, right? And not necessarily a sports guy as you understand it. I started talking to him, and he loves his baseball. He loves his baseball because of the numbers involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Moneyball type stuff. Nate Silver,
they love it.
Massive into that.
Men in particular love it, and I just wonder with how rugby's been marketed, and we'll link this up to Bill Sweeney later. Maybe the future is more numbers because just people love that stuff. Now we don't get particularly inspired by community values or. You know, it's a game of skills and evasion with some contact, and nobody cares about that. It's inclusive, don't care. But some numbers would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Some real hardcore numbers and some data to crunch.
Bill Sweeney might be one of the few people who really puts rugby inclusivity right at the very top, because that's the one bit of his bonus he didn't get. Well, he could have had another 100 grand.
You can't you can't accuse him of not caring about the numbers.
No, that's right.
he was obsessed with the numbers and balancing the numbers, so it gave the best outcome for his bank balance.
Yep.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. This is a story that proves people care about numbers.
The fault isn't Bill Sweeney's, by the way. We'll get onto this. This. Like, if someone set me targets that I could achieve, whether I was doing my job or not,
correct,
I would sign up to that.
Yes, quite.
It's the people, like, Bill. Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than Bill Sweeney needs to be sorted at the RFU.
Yes.
Agreed.
There's little teas for later.
So just back to Newcastle, I think there's lessons to be learned here, like massive lessons. If you are running a rugby club, like an amateur rugby club, you probably want to be looking at what Newcastle are doing, because they are taking players who are not as good as maybe the opposition. I mean, there are some fine players there, as they proved. Gordon's another one that's what I was going to say. Sammy Arnold and that Gordon fella, the Scottish flanker, they're just difference makers. They actually play and make a difference. How do you get these men to care enough when they're right at the bottom to pull out a performance like that? How do you do that? Because I think that's real leadership. I think that's awesome.
I'm for what I said about Dimes previously. I'm impressed with this win. I've been impressed with both wins, and he's battling up there.
He's great at this. This is what he does better than any other rugby coach alive. I'm sure of it. You get a ragtag group, and he makes them into a team. And
what's interesting is when you look back at the Sale Sharks years, he was regarded better in the years when their expectation was much lower.
Totally.
And as soon as the expectation was you're spending a lot of cash on some big names, Faf de Klerk was there to scrum off. They didn't make playoffs.
He never made the playoffs.
But
he had a team that included multiple World Cup winners and failed to make the playoffs, and that was the.
But he would have if he'd stayed. I really think that. So I think it's almost damning faint praise saying it. He's only good with these write-offs just because he happens to be exceptionally good at it. People sort of forget he is a very, very good.
Well, I was just going to draw the comparison on the rugby pitch when someone is very good in multiple positions.
Henry Slade.
There you go.
Yep.
Never get regarded.
No, James Daniels are probably great, a better one.
Yeah, they don't get regarded for just how good they are.
Yeah. Or watching him today, although he didn't have a particularly good game, but Shilcock, I think, is a lovely player, but because he can play a bit of everywhere, he's never really nailed down one position.
Yeah. Fair. Before we go any further, I've just got to share this. My phone's running out of battery, and I'll share the reason why that's the case and why I was late in a little bit.
Okay.
But we've got one for the Literally files.
Oh, yes.
Well, I've not seen the emails for weeks because I don't have the password.
This one courtesy of Ben Youngs, who's talking about the Welsh scrum.
As you say, like, he wasn't even playing at Principality.
Hold on, I'm listening. I'm listening in. Listening in. You. I get more done in my day if I listen at 1.5 speed. Here we go.
But the Welsh scrum was literally an ice rink.
Wow.
The Welsh scrum was literally an ice rink. I'm just working. So obviously, if you hear anyone use the word literally incorrectly, then please let us know. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. But even metaphorically, I'm not sure how that one worked.
The scrum was... It was the scrum. They weren't on an ice rink.
The scrum was literally an ice rink.
Torvill and Dean were on their backs.
Oh, just one last thing about Newcastle.
Yeah.
By half time, do you know how many penalties they conceded?
I'm guessing 2? It's low.
1.
Oh, I love it.
That is ace, isn't it? That's ace. That is discipline.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Do you know, I spoke to a referee in an airport departure lounge today who was explaining, just following on from, do you remember the Ireland-Argentina game with the deliberate knock-on from Juan Martín González?
Yeah.
And you made the point that it actually went backwards, so it was the right outcome, wrong call.
Yeah, because you don't have to have a deliberate knock-on. You can't play the ball directly into touch, which he did.
That is what that individual said. They said that was right. And because in the law, and this goes back, this is just circling back on laws, they said that, in the law book, all it says is the ball, for a knock-on, the ball must travel forwards.
Yes.
So it doesn't take into account momentum.
No, not within the laws, but the application of the momentum...
Even the forward pass law is with the momentum and the hands going forward. It's not in the laws.
Law book.
So what it did was confirm, you were correct in what you said, one, but more, I suppose more importantly is there's lots of officiating that's done regardless of what's written in the law book.
Yeah, and there's these directives that they come out for a period of time and then they fall by the wayside, like the application of the high tackle directive, because that's not all written within the law book.
Yes,
but that should all be condensed, because when you're reading through the laws, this is one of my many points on the obscure nature of World Rugby's laws. There's far too many of them. Lots of them are applied not the way they're written, or not written the way that they're applied, or the same thing. And there's these directives that are applied but don't exist within the law book. It all should be condensed, and you could probably take out, I don't know, 20 laws, 20 sub-points, maybe even more.
I'd love to bubble rugby down to an element of principles rather than... I mean, you'd have to probably flesh it out a bit more, but...
Yeah,
there's a lot where that just doesn't feel right. Like that deliberate knock-on, it was... Which wasn't a deliberate knock-on, but it looks like that's just not... But it doesn't look
principle-based regulation.
Yeah.
So the FCA tried this.
Did they?
That's our regulator. And the principle-based regulation was like, treating customers fairly. Okay, so what are the regulations? We're not going to tell you. Just treat them fairly.
Yeah.
It's actually not a terrible way to do things. And then they went mental and regulated everything, as regulators do.
The problem with that is, as soon as you get some either bad actor... or not necessarily someone who's a bad actor, but someone who's trying to game the system, then you just get embroiled in, well, you have to define every single term within that. So what's the definition of treat them fairly? Well, what is it in this circumstance? What is in that? And you end up going through, it becomes far more litigious.
I think there's an element where in rugby we try and control human nature. I think a great example is, and they'd be at two opposite ends of the spectrum from the English refs, Luke Pearce and Matt Carley.
Yeah,
they're both. I think they're the two best English referees.
I think they're both great. Yeah, superb.
But they are very, very different. Almost at opposite ends. Luke Pearce is they're both great in their own way. So I don't want it to sound like any sort of pejorative. Luke Pearce is much more like happy to go with the flow a bit more, and Matt Carley's like, no, we're doing it this way, my way.
Yeah, in
both are great.
In Myers-Briggs parlance, it would be thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
So. Luke Pearce feels the game, whereas Matt Carley, he thinks he needs it to be prescribed and precise how he's going to apply the law.
This is exactly what I spoke to Sarah Cox about. not the old Radio 2 DJ, the referee who did the Exeter game this weekend.
Exeter, yeah.
So if you listen to my guest appearance on Two Locks and a Cox with Bentos and Sarah Cox, exactly this, like how do you do it? And she says, well, sometimes it's a bit of an art, sometimes it's not a bit of an art, sometimes it works and you don't know why, and sometimes it works and it's obvious. And
we did actually get an email from a Bath fan who said, is there any conflict of interest that someone who is on a podcast with an Exeter angle is refereeing an Exeter game?
It's one of those things, right?
I'm personally not bothered by it.
I just say no. I say no in the same way that I hate it when Pro 14 fans, or whatever they call it, or URC, whinge about a Welsh ref.
Yeah.
You either trust them or you don't. Right? So, the same when they talk about Carl Dixon. Oh, why is he refereeing his mates at Harlequins? Shut up, you simpleton. Right? You either trust them or you don't. They're either good enough to be referees or they're not. Now, I know we do it different in international, and maybe there's an element of, like, tradition there. But I really think if you're a professional referee in the Premiership or the URC, we just trust you and you can do whatever you want outside of it.
Totally agree. Like, it's saying Wayne Barnes could have never refereed Gloucester.
Yeah, nonsense.
No. So I'm with you. But just what we've talked about this before, but one tradition I would bring back is that during international games, the referee wears the kit of their nation. Which is that's what refs used to do.
Is that what they did?
Yeah, that's what they used to do.
I do quite like that.
Yeah,
I quite like it.
I'll allow it. Yeah, I will allow it, actually, because there's nothing worse than the official kit of the World Cup or something. It would be really cool if you get a ref from a non-World Cup playing nation, like USA, and have to wear the USA kit. I wonder if there's ever been a World Cup ref whose nation was not playing in the World Cup.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe.
It's a good question, isn't it? Imagine Spain have got quite a few good ones. And they continue to get screwed over.
Got to the final of the Dubai Sevens.
Did they?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Oh, I'm gutted I missed the Dubai Sevens. This is I should be there now. But I'm not. I'm here with you guys because I love it so much.
Which is nearly as good.
Just as good.
Well, Chicago next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you boys read the Stuart Barnes article this week about lazy players?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a lazy article. It was like, what two things can I pull together? England have got an issue in the last 20 minutes. What can I find that might try and draw some parallel? I'm not convinced by the argument. Well, he was drawing the link, if you haven't read it, that England's last 20 minutes drop off in the last 20 minutes of recent games.
It's to do with the bonus point.
It's to do with the bonus point system in the Premiership, where games are won early and then defences just kind of slack off a bit psychologically.
I agree with you. It was lazy. And I also think that it's a wrong conclusion. But I do enjoy people who are thinking like this.
Yeah.
And it
started a conversation, yeah.
Because for the longest time I've thought that the Premiership is great game plans played with average players, and international is average game plans played by brilliant players. So because you have less time with the players, your game plan's far more simple, which is why Borthwick should be working great, and I think he will do, but your players are much, much better. And actually, what Stuart Barnes has not identified, in my opinion, is that we should be leaning more into the Premiership, not away from it. Like, you shouldn't be looking at, Premiership's not going to make great test rugby. Sorry, Premiership doesn't lend itself to great test rugby. We should be looking at it and saying, actually, wherever the Premiership goes is where test rugby will probably go next, in my opinion. Because all the coaches do in the Premiership is what works. Right? In test rugby, it's hard to know what works because it's a one-off event every game. Like, there's no sort of like league structure. Generally speaking, like, South Africa are just the best players. South Africa win because they are the best players. They've got some lovely structures, but they're just the best players.
Well, I think our conversation, I don't know whether it was last week or the week before, where we drew the link between massive players and the Premiership. The salary cap dropping and these large people are much fewer and far between, so they'll naturally attract more money from France and the like. And without those sort of players, the style of rugby has shifted in England away from that traditional English DNA, which at international level you have to have if you're going to win. And the last 20 minutes in games, actually, I think the soft underbelly of English rugby, which is that last 20 minutes of games. You could say it's S&C, fitness and all the rest of it, but it's
Science.
We don't have enough big men to come off the bench.
So I think the other side of that, right, is that because the big men are leaving, you have teams like Exeter who are targeting only big men. I think the correct way to say it is the big good men are leaving. Because there are some big men in the Premiership. Yeah. They're just not very good yet. I think they might get good in the future.
At which point they'll go to France.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely they will.
England's tight head prop, as Mark Evans from your Economics podcast many times has said, and he's absolutely right. Yep. The English tight head prop right now and for the last 5-10 years is Will Collier. And he's in France right now because England never recognised the talent that he had.
Yeah, the other thing as well is if massively aggressive defences work in the Premiership, everyone will be doing it by next year. So I just don't think he's identified really what the reality. I don't think he knows what the Premiership is. Right? The Premiership is the game plans that work the best at a given moment in time. At the moment, it's Bristol and Harlequins and Gloucester seem to be getting the hang of this Premiership.
Do you know what I'm looking for at the minute? And I don't know exactly what it is. What's the new trend in rugby? Because it's ubiquitous now, that one standard, variations of the shape.
I've been wondering what this for ages.
Forward pod, 10 out the back. What's the new forward What's the innovation? Because there was a point where that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, the crossfield kick over the last few years has
pass,
but that's now kind of everywhere. But that is a good way of spreading the field and creating some room, quickly changing the point of attack.
My view on this, right, is that, and it's not new, but it's definitely something which could be expanded, is that you want a fly half who can kick, obviously. Cheers JB. Right, I nailed it. But in addition to that, you want two wingers that do nothing but kick. Right? And the reason you want that is because you can spread the field early in an attacking manner. And the opposition don't know if you're spreading the field to attack or you're spreading the field to kick. So by definition, if you look at James Lowe, Ireland, right, can get the ball and they can wing it wide in an attacking pattern in their own 22, and you do not know if they're doing that to go and attack you or you keep your winger back because James Lowe is going to get it and absolutely welly it. And I think that's really lethal.
Well, Exeter have used Henry Slade in that manner.
Yeah.
In the 13 channel, and they'll go wide early. They'll go wide as if they're going to run out of their own 22, and Slade will make the judgment call of if the winger shoots up and there's a bit more space in the backfield, kick. If the winger stays back, he's got the option to run and exit in that manner.
So I think two wingers that can kick. I mean, actually, if I had a rugby team now, all I'd be doing, and I don't know how fair Roboso's got so good at this all of a sudden, is catching the ball. I mean, some of his open field catching, retrieving kicks is exceptional. And kicking the ball. Those would be the two things that I do all day long.
Well, another one that has the advantage or looks superb at the catching the ball, box kicks, crossfield kicks, particularly under the new laws, is Roebuck.
Tom Roebuck.
Roebuck, very, very good, because he's
big boy as well, isn't
he? He's tall, yeah. And he put Will Stewart under...
Freddie Stewart.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Freddie Stewart.
Will Wand came on, which did make me wish that Harry Potter had stayed at Leicester, so he could have had Will Wand and Harry Potter.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he didn't put Will Stewart
and George Martin.
Too much pressure.
George Martin, yeah. Fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, I just think Roebuck's very good at that. Very good at that. So he's an interesting option, because obviously he was in the squad. He came on against Japan, scored a try. He's very useful under that Borthwick system and the way that the laws of the game is going. I think he could have a decent period in the England team.
I wonder what definitely the people that have the good skills. Watching a lot of top 14, and I noticed it. I was in Dublin for the Ireland-Australia game yesterday, and I noticed Australia doing it quite a lot as well. In the top 14, the skill set is so high and the backs are so good that just attacking wide as soon as the defence put 2 or 3 men in the backfield, go. Even if you're in your own 22.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think the skill set is there. Bristol do it, and it works for them.
Well,
when the skill set is good enough, it can work.
I think Jonathan Joseph or Dave Rennie, you attack the line twice. If you get over the gain line, go again. Go over the gain line, go again. As soon as you get knocked back twice, you kick it. And I like that. Just as a rule, I like it. And the other thing I wonder is, attacking ball was... So attacking threats last year very much seemed to come from attacking shapes, Northampton being the ultimate example of this. I wonder if their loss to Gloucester showed a little bit of an innovation, which is it's more about not so much the attacking shape, but the attacking intent, lots of offloads, less structure, more chaos. Don't know how you coach that. I don't even know if Gloucester are coaching it, to be honest, if it's just an accident or there's actually some science behind it. But something like that.
Well, Gloucester was a good match-up for Northampton this week in that regard, because you've got two teams who want to play Broken Field, and it's one of several games that I didn't predict this week. I mean, I did predict the Bristol. I think me and you,
I
Tim,
predicted Sale.
We predicted Bristol. I did not predict Gloucester beating Northampton.
Nope, I didn't get
I said Bristol, Sale, so correct. I said Northampton and Saracens. Yeah. And what was the other one?
Bath.
And Bath, I predicted that.
Bath.
So
I think I said Bath.
It's a if anyone got an acca on this one with all 5 correct, fair play. You'll have made a few bob.
Yeah, because that Newcastle would have been a long odds on that. But yeah, Northampton losing to Gloucester, and Gloucester playing that kind of rugby and looking good for it. Mercer, Wade.
Did you watch Santi Carreras?
Carreras.
Outstanding. He looks like he's playing sevens.
He can't get in the Argentina team. He's so good.
He's fragile though, isn't he?
Oh, he's such a good
just
player.
Hot and cold. He will win you a match, and then you won't notice him for a game or two. Yeah, they'll lose a couple.
He's just
not his fault when they lose, but he will. He has probably 2, maybe 3 occasions in a season where he will seemingly win a game on his own.
He's unplayable. Yeah. This weekend he was unplayable. Absolutely unplayable. Does he not get in fly half for Argentina?
No, Albanese is there now.
Yeah.
He started the Rugby Championship for the first couple of games, and then ever since then it's been Albanese, and he's been on the bench.
Yeah.
And you've got Malia at fullback, one of the 4 Toulouse fullbacks, international fullbacks.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to do with him because he does. I think when he first showed up at Gloucester, everyone's like, who is this amazing winger that can kick and play fullback? I still can't believe they wasted him on the wing for so long. Actually, you can't really play him at fly half. I think Gloucester have tried this, and it's not really worked, which is why Anscombe's there. He's kind of at fullback, good attacking. New laws probably won't help him, and he's had some horror defensive moments.
He's just so talented. Look at his upside rather than his downside.
So then where you left, wing. But then Christian Wade's there. Christian Wade is looking dynamite at the moment. Christian Wade's looking dynamite, and also you can deploy Ollie Thorley. And if he gets back to half the player he was in his prime...
Do you remember that year when he was just scoring worldy tries every week?
Yeah. And beating 8, 9, 10, 5 offloads a game, making 100+ meters every game. He was very, very good. Yeah. But again, he went off. I didn't see this game in full, but he went off early in this game, which is sadly quite a lot like Ollie Thorley does.
Yep,
because he plays the game so hard, he can never stay fit.
Good news for England fans, though. Return of Mitchell.
Yes,
off the bench.
Yeah, very good. I think he'll make a difference for England.
Yeah, other than that, nothing more to say other than Gloucester go ahead of Northampton in the table.
You just mentioned Mitchell coming back and good news for England. Do you think England... I don't know. It's strange. England lost a lot of games narrowly over the last few weeks. Australia was disappointing. But New Zealand and South Africa, I thought they gave a good effort and just lost. Watching Ireland, they're creaking a little bit. And I think England might go to Dublin thinking they can pull off another win against Ireland.
I think they probably can. I think England are much better than people give them credit for. Ireland probably aren't quite as good. So I don't disagree with your analysis. That said, I can't speak at all about this game because I watched only Premiership and grassroots rugby because I'm a real rugby fan. But I see you went and did Ireland South.
I went to Dublin, so I did, yeah.
And Australia.
Cracking.
Was it?
Good weekend?
Yeah, I was meant to be there with friend of the pod, Lewis. He got stuck in Netherlands, so I was on my own. So I basically just went for a stroll. Lovely Saturday morning, and then I said I thought to myself, first person that mentions EggChasers, I'll offer him.
The ticket.
Oh,
the ticket.
Good.
A guy called Mark said, Tim, and do you want to come to the game? Yeah.
Oh, wonderful!
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Great idea.
Fantastic.
So that's great. But that's the best thing about rugby. Yeah. Making friends, that camaraderie. It was good. Awesome. It was really good. I mean, a bit awful first half from Ireland's point of view, but they hit reset. And Leinster's 5th choice hooker is quite good at rugby, apparently. Gus McCarthy.
So I don't know anything about this guy all I know is his name's Gus McCarthy, and last week he had a good game. So he's had 2 good games back to back. It reminds me a little bit on Dan Sheehan. So I just pay no attention to URC. That's just the truth. So when a good player for Ireland sort of shows up, it hits me completely by surprise. So it reminds me when Dan Sheehan showed up, because I was like, who is Dan Sheehan? I just don't know who this guy is.
Same with Joe McCarthy.
Same with Joe. It's exactly the same again. This Dan Sheehan's good. Was he winger? Like what does he do? So are we looking at the next incarnation of Dan Sheehan? What kind of player is he?
Could be real tough, nuggety, traditional hooker, and just has that knack. He's scored 2 games, tries in both.
Is he following the back of mauls?
He is, but he's hitting his arrows and he's looking assured at test level.
Good lad.
So he only got his URC and Leinster senior debut earlier this year.
Yeah, he's played four Leinster games.
Yeah, back end of last season. He's following a traditional rugby route, so Blackrock.
Yep.
As you would expect, and Leinster. Ireland,
no provincial games, straight into Ireland.
Ireland under-20s. He's only 21 as well.
Good. I just love it when you see a kid or a younger player who gets an opportunity and doesn't let it go.
Well, Satiti was the same. He only played like 6 games for the Chiefs before playing for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Nuts. He was playing NPC for the most part.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And Joseph Suaalii.
First professional game.
First
against
professional
England.
game of union. Started outside centre again.
So insane, isn't it?
That's ridiculous. So this game, I watched more Premiership than this. I've seen the highlights, and this it brings me to one of my bugbears about rugby highlights. There was 3 minutes highlights of this game, and at least a minute, probably somewhere between 30 and 50% of the package of highlights was taken up watching a 10 kick the ball over the sticks, which is it's ridiculous.
Don't need to see it.
No.
Yeah, we don't need to see that. And I was chatting to my brother-in-law about this, who's a football fan, not a rugby fan, but he's always interested in any sport. So we're just chatting about it. I said, imagine if you were watching highlights of a football game and there was a penalty in the football game and they didn't show you the foul that created the penalty.
Yeah.
That would be completely ridiculous. Well, that's what's happened here. Like, I know that there have been, however many it was, 3 penalties for Ireland and 2 penalties for Australia. But I have no idea from these highlights, was it repeat jackal offences? Was it scrum offences? Was it line-out offences? Was it high tackle? Like, I have no idea. I would much rather have the offence, the 6 offences or 5 offences, rather than the 5, just the ball repeatedly going over the sticks.
It's a great shout.
So someone needs to do something about that, because
we've been
so annoyed.
A decade. We've been talking about a decade now.
It took about a decade of us talking about why give a not straight in a line out when they don't compete.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that since the podcast started, and they've just got round to it. So give it another five years, and they might get round to that.
Yes.
Talking of things which people don't pay any attention to. Have you seen the new Six Nations? Sorry.
Oh, no, just before you get to that, I'll just wrap up what you were saying.
Oh, yeah, go on.
That there's clearly still influence of the podcast, because in commentary today of Sale against Leicester, Ugo,
friend of the pod,
Ugo said, quote, "Let the boys play."
Yeah, well.
Just like Martin Johnson did in the Six Nations a couple of years ago. Exactly. Let the boys play.
Great ambassador for rugby. There isn't a better ambassador for rugby, is there?
Anyway, Six Nations.
Sorry, it used to be called the Six Nations. It's now the Men's Six Nations.
M6N.
What is this? It is the Six Nations, right? There is the Six Nations, and then there's the Women's Six Nations, right? They are 2 different things. It's not the Men's Six Nations. In the same way...
Everyone knows what you mean when you say Six Nations.
Yeah, I don't struggle. No one's ever said to me, do you see Six Nations? You went, Sarah Hunter and the girls. It's never happened.
It's not sexist or wrong to call the original Six Nations Six Nations.
Six Nations.
Because everyone knows what that means.
Yeah, because it was developed... Well, that way. That's how it is. That is where the history is.
Same as when you say, "Oh, are you watching the England game this Saturday?" Everyone knows what you mean.
Yeah, it's like people say, "Why are you getting so upset about this?" Well, first of all, it's nonsense. But it's like woman. We don't need cis woman in front of it, do we? We know it's a woman. Right? I don't need that clarification. Thank you. It's the Six Nations. I want to say it's further. It's rugby union. That refers to senior men's 15s. There's other types of rugby union too, like women's rugby union. There'd be one.
Which is great.
Yep, which is fantastic. It should be encouraged where possible. under 21s rugby union. Sevens rugby unions, is that sevens?
It's sevens rugby, but it's owned by World Rugby.
Sevens. No
E's.
Yeah. So anyway, it's Six Nations. No, sorry. M6M.
M6N.
What?
In your hold on, we should read the we should read the PR.
The optimism.
I love this.
The optimism of the orange coming out of winter.
Yeah. Wait. Here we go. Where is it? Yes. So it's been changed. So it's M6N in an orange font. The press release from the tournament organisers, quote, "The bold visual designs reflect today's game and how fans feel about the sport." And it's orange
Shut
letters.
Up, you losers.
And specifically, the men's Six Nations experience. While it's, quote, distinctive orange colourway informed by research, also signifies the optimism fans feel when they come together at the end of winter to experience the Six Nations together.
Oh, these people are so thick.
I can't believe they said at the end the Six Nations together. They should have said the men's Six Nations together.
Or the women's Six Nations.
By the way, I love the fact they've got to put in there, as research, we don't need any more experts. I think we've learned the lesson the hard way about experts. We're okay, thanks. We're absolutely fine as we are.
And rugby has finite resources at the minute. We do not need to be spending tens of thousands of pounds on someone to research what colour and what font. And if that's how much have they spent on that read? Because I don't know about you, just objectively,
too much. Just too much.
That looks rubbish.
Too much. But you can remember it, right? And it scales online. The thing,
it's funny.
It is. They're all yesterday's men. All of these people are yesterday's men.
Let's hope so.
Now, just on Six Nations, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this to local rugby for a second. We were playing Wilmslow this week. By the way, cracking side Wilmslow, very, very tough. Far tougher than I expected. And before the game, I sent out a curated list of things which inspire me for rugby, including what I consider to be the greatest passage of rugby ever played, right? So I thought this is a great question for the boys.
That Argentinian scrum that was about 30 seconds deadlocked. I can't remember who they played with.
It wasn't that, actually. That was high on my list, right? So I've got a bunch of reels from Instagram of basically rugby to classical music. They are all amazing. But the one, well, I'll tell you what I selected later. But I want to know, if you're going to inspire your team, right, with a passage of play, what play would you choose and why?
I would go for...
I'll tell you, I've got one.
The opening 2 or 3 minutes of the England versus New Zealand semi-final of the 2019 World Cup.
Ooh.
That is...
Why?
England were incredible.
It is absolutely phenomenal. I rewatched it recently, and it's one of the most...
Say again, the England
2019 semi-final.
2019 semi-final.
I mean, you'd have to include the hacker and Owen Farrell's face in that little.
I wouldn't even. I'd just go from kickoff to the Manu try.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And it is just phenomenal.
Ferocious pace, accuracy. It's brilliant.
It's everything, and they go wide. They go one side. They go to the other side. They come through them. It's just brilliant, and loads of rugby legends as well, like Big Courts and Marrow.
Big Courts was going to be my one. I can't remember who England were playing. It might have been it might have just been, I don't mean only, but it might have been Tonga or Samoa or something. But the defensive tackle where Courtney Laws managed somehow to get back and make that tackle just on his own try line.
Did he turn him on his back or something?
Yeah. It was a lost cause. The try was over, and somehow, out of nowhere, Courtney comes in. He was. I think he might have been England captain for the first time that day.
Yeah.
And he makes the most, and just for pure heart.
So that game then, the one you're referring to, must have been the one which George Furbank was 10. And I seem to remember...
Was it Japan or Fiji or one of those?
Something like that. So George Furbank was 10. I remember this because I was playing Fleetwood that day. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Courtney Laws covering tackle.
Must be,
because if you write Courtney Law's tackle, it's just going to come up with Jules Police on, isn't it?
Or
Hodgson, Courtney Law's captain.
Oh yeah, incredible try-saving tackle from Courtney Laws. Oh yeah, it was. It's Tonga, I think.
So,
yes, isn't it a break by the scrum half or something?
Fullback. He steps in and out, inside and out, and then I'll show it to you there. just manages to.
That's the one. Yeah, it's a phenomenal tackle, isn't it? It is phenomenal.
That's great.
So I picked 2, right? And the second one is in 2 parts. It is that good. But briefly, the first one is a slow motion passage of play in the World Cup final. And you must have seen this. It's like Faf spins it. Like every single person involved in that clip is one of the best players to ever play the game in that position.
And it's someone deflecting a drop goal attempt from Bowden Barrett, wasn't it?
Ardy Surveyor. Like you couldn't write it. If it was like a Nike advert, the Nike script writers could not get this more perfect. But because the very end of it is Geordie Barrett catching the ball from his brother, looking to see the world's greatest ever player. Yes.
One of Antoine Dupont was playing in that game.
No, the world's greatest ever player. Right? Peter Steph-Toy, who absolutely smashes him. But the reason it's so good is even though Peter Steph-Toy smashes him, he keeps the ball. And that's what I love. He keeps the ball. He knows it's coming and he keeps the ball. Everything is perfect. That
was about the 10th time in that game that he's been absolutely smashed by Peter Steph-Toy.
And that's why it works so well. It's like, what a sport this actually is. But the one that I chose was 4 minutes of defence from Wales, because if that doesn't epitomise
against Ireland, me and Phil were there at the the Millennium Stadium at the time.
And I didn't realise that those clips are in 2 parts. So do you know what the first part is? So first part is 34 phases, right, of defence from Wales, culminating in a penalty, right? And Ireland celebrate his penalty like they've won the World Cup. The kick to the corner, and it's followed by another 12 phases, then the turnover. And it just is unreal. Yeah. I thought that
atmosphere in that stadium at that point was insane.
I can't imagine it.
I remember that vividly. I remember the day started with macaroons that Phil had purchased on the train.
Delicious.
Lovely M&S macaroons on the train.
Yeah, and that's everything. That is literally everything you want your team to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hard-working, committed, disciplined. 34 phases, 1 penalty, lose a line out, turn you over anyway, don't care, see you later, kick it.
Awesome.
So
I love it.
That's what I shared with the top H players who won.
Next week, do the opening to the 2019 World Cup semi-final, England-New Zealand.
Great show.
Because that is a phenomenal passage of play.
Anyone interested in any more local rugby whilst I'm here?
Sedgwick didn't play this weekend, so no.
I'll tell you what, probably the biggest game in the UK.
Go on.
This week.
The UK, you say?
Well, I'm just thinking it's probably bigger than any Champions Cup game or Challenge Cup game. So anyway, but the biggest game in England this week.
Go on.
Rams against Richmond. Top of the table clash in National 1.
Wait, was that this weekend?
No, it's on it's on Friday night.
Is it? Is there any no chance that's going to be streamed anywhere?
No.
Of course it's not. No. Of course it's not. I mean, that is a genuinely great story. The Rams story is brilliant.
Yeah.
A well-run club.
I remember them when they were Reading Genzians. We used to play against them regularly.
Is that what they used to be called?
They used to be called Reading Genzians when I was there.
Do we know why the rebrand is?
No. It was, no. All I remember about Reading Genzians, we always used to beat them, and they had an amazing old-school bath in their clubhouse, which they would always fill up. Do you know what I heard
Wigan
about?
had one of them.
The issue with the big baths, like, they were amazing.
There are no
I
issues.
used to love them.
There are no issues?
No, I love them. I love them. But what I've heard about since is there were clubs who used to have 2 baths, one to go and get the mud off, and then one to get in afterwards.
Absolutely. That's why you have 2 baths. Absolutely. So, 2 other results for you of interest. Macclesfield went down.
Health and safety got mad, got rid of baths. Yeah. They were a hygiene risk, apparently.
Well, I voted Brexit for a reason, so let's get those baths back. Anyway, Stockport, a league below, beat Macclesfield in the cup, I think, and also Aylesbury had a win, and this win against Old Haberdashers,
that was the club that I forgot to mention last week. Old Haberdashers are the highest level playing non-training team, so they just turn up on Saturdays. And this is a big one because it was a bit of a relegation head-to-head, and Aylesbury got the odds on this one. So I think Old Haberdashers are having a tough time.
Well, they might have a slightly better time soon on their return on the Aylesbury return leg, because they've invited us down to watch. So if we can make that'd be pretty cool. Actually,
that would be
very cool.
We have an invitation from Old Haberdashers. We should really look into that.
Yeah, the highest level non-training club. In England.
What a thing to hang your hat on.
So cool, isn't it? We don't trade. We just turn up on a Saturday.
It's not. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
Yeah, and I can say top lads because they're the ones that looked after me when I was in Nice.
Oh, yes.
So look, maybe this is the way forward for teams like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not digging them out here, but Didsbury is a very well heeled area. Different clubs should offer different things to different people. St. Bedians or Old Bedians, sorry, are not doing particularly well. Maybe they should turn themselves into a non-training rugby club. A different angle, because if you're not getting people twice a week and you can't field a first team, do something different. Do something.
Yeah, why not? And that's a good shout.
Do you know what I reckon? There's probably an argument there for a lot of clubs that if they said, do you know what, we're not going to train, but I'll tell you what we are going to do. We're going to play the game, and we're going to spend Saturday night together as well.
Yes.
If that was kind of the sales pitch you gave it, you can tell your missus or your family or your work. You're there all through the week, but Saturdays are for the boys.
Quite right.
What's that? That's a phrase from somewhere, isn't it?
It's an American one, isn't
Saturdays
it?
Are for the boys.
That
feels... Saturdays are for the boys. I think that might be a... what's it called? What's that network? Dave Portnoy.
Barstool Sports. I think you're probably right there, mate.
Saturdays are for the boys.
Which is ironic, because all American football is really played on Sunday, isn't it?
Saturdays are for the...
associated with Barstool Sports.
There you go. I thought I'd heard it before.
After appearing on,
well, unlike certain rugby commentators, we at least give credit to the people that came up with the original sayings. But hey, you do you, it's fine.
I'm just glad people are saying let the boys play still. That's good.
Yep.
I remember when that used to get used as a pejorative by some alternative... basically when things like Twitter was a thing.
Yeah.
People go, you're part of the let the boys play brigade. That used to be a phrase that people would use. No, it wasn't
that. It was the Games Gone Soft brigade.
Well, there was that one as well, but there were people... There were people that used to say let the boys play brigade, tried to make that a thing.
Yeah, which
like some sort of pejorative, but
which I'm definitely in favour of.
We're still here, and most of the people that used to say that aren't.
Well, most of the people that say that have run their own rugby clubs into the ground. But we won't speak about that in too much detail.
Bill Sweeney, come on, let's go there. RFU. So, Phil, can you give us like the headlines of this?
Okay.
Summarised.
The two most important headlines are England Rugby's reports and accounts to year-end June 2024. England made a negative profit, otherwise known as a loss.
Did they call it a negative profit?
I'm just being silly. After rugby investment of in around £40 million. £40 million. So that is point number one. Point number two is, I'll make 2 point number twos. Bill Sweeney, for the year, for overseeing that fiasco, his take-home pay for that year was £1.1 million.
Deserves every penny of it.
Which included an annual salary of £742,000, which is up 73% in the 5 years that he's been in. So he came in 2019 on 430k, a paltry 430k. I don't know how he survived.
You can't live on that.
And he said for his excellent leadership over the last 5 years, he has had a £312,000 increase, and on top of that £312,000 increase, he got a £358,000 bonus just for this 1 year, which included a £40 million loss.
Phil, what size projects are you working on at the
moment? Tens of millions of pounds. Or
tens of millions of pounds.
Or hundreds of millions of pounds.
Like, if you earn 73% more, what would you have to do?
Tens of millions of profit, it would be.
Yeah.
73%
more, what would you need to do?
Grow YouTube.
I'd need to get 73% more views.
Yes.
Yeah, at least that's quite, at least
that's a linear relationship.
Yes. Yeah, quite an understandable performance target.
Yeah.
Really. Same here. I need to do 73% more business.
Yes.
Really. I mean, so let's just go over the numbers then. The RFU have they increased their profit by 73%? No, sure. No, they're player numbers. There must be the player numbers, right?
I looked into this a bit. I'm sure Phil has as well. But if I can summarise how he achieved his bonus targets were split into 4 areas, each one around about £100 and something thousand pounds each. So I think he got something like £112,000 for each one of these 4 targets. Mm-hmm. One was financial. It was a financial linked one.
Yeah.
And he got that because of the RFU's revenue.
Revenue.
Not profit, revenue.
Interesting.
So their costs were massive, but he still got his £100,000 bonus.
So can I just make a defence of Bill Sweeney very quickly on the numbers? It's fairly traditional in rugby union to make a huge profit in the year of a World Cup, followed by a huge loss the year after. And I don't know why that is precisely.
So they play fewer games, so you lose all 4 autumn internationals, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But, so while that is true, he's just used that. So when you read through it, he says, "Oh yeah, we made a massive loss, but the loss was lower than we anticipated."
Oh, brilliant!
Meaning that it's fine when it was a known position. Like everyone knows. So IRFU lost whatever it was, 17 million euros, something like that this year. The RFU always knew they were going to lose money in this period, or their costs would be. Their revenue would be lower and their costs would be broadly the same. But if you know that, you can prepare for it and you can do something about it. The way that Bill Sweeney, in his report, writes it up, it's like it was a fait accompli. It was just this...
What happened?
This just happened to us. There's nothing we could have done about this. It just happened.
In fairness to them, it has happened before.
It does happen.
No, it does happen.
You
can price that into for everything else.
Your revenue, if you know your revenue is going to be lower, you can do something about it. Their overheads went up in the period that their revenue went down.
And the thing is, so he's hit his revenue target. I'm looking at it partly, I think, because inflation. So the cost of everything has just gone through the roof. So a roof has spiked, and consequently, the money that comes in, the value of everything is down. So the cost of, I don't know, the sponsorship they get in, whatever the case may be, it's all gone up. And he's just, my point, I guess overall with the targets, and I'll just summarise the other ones, I think whether he was doing his job or just decided to disappear on a yacht and go around the world and no one was there as the chief executive, he would still have achieved these performance targets, which suggests that the performance targets are an absolute crock of...
Yeah, fair play for him for negotiating hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of bonuses.
The remuneration committee, because this isn't just Bill Sweeney, this will be the whole RFU board will be getting similar bonuses.
Because there is a further nearly £1 million of bonuses.
I would love to know who came up with these targets, because I think they are arguably even more incompetent than Bill Sweeney. And need to go. The second target, so there was a finance-linked one. There was a win percentage of the national team
Here
one.
we go. Strap in for this one.
Yeah, so it's the win ratio of the senior men's and women's teams.
And what he needed to achieve is 75% minimum. England's win percentage during that period, Phil mentioned, it was 58%.
Although in the report, have you seen what...
Yeah, they mention the New Zealand defeat, but then don't include that in their...
Yeah, there's a statement in the report
the summer matches.
England men had a good year with 65% win percentage if you discount the 2 tests played in New Zealand over the summer.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, then it's not 65%.
Why would they discount the
2 pages earlier, they highlight that England are playing the hardest teams in the world and played 2 tests in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So they want the report wants the credit for playing against the hardest teams, but not... any downside for losing against the hardest team.
Do you reckon they had to redraft that? It's like, okay, the win percentage is a bit down. How do we increase this? Well, we just remove 2 wins, 2 losses.
Why not remove more losses? Why not remove the World Cup semi-final against South Africa?
Why not count the Ireland one as twice? Because they were underdogs. Just count that as 2 wins.
Well, the Fiji game was just a World Cup warm-up, so why would you put that in
get rid of that? I mean, get rid of that. Why would you include that? As far as I can see it, and tell me if I'm wrong, they only lost 1 game in the World Cup. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Just include the World Cups.
Yeah.
6. Like, they won lots of games and they lost 1. Again, just losing one game in the World Cup's great.
So the England performance during that period was 58%, but Bill Sweeney got his target because the women won 97% of their games. They won all but 1 match.
I think they won all but one over about 3 years.
Yeah.
They won everyone in this.
They lose World Cup finals.
Lost the World Cup final. I think that's the last game that they've lost.
So Bill Sweeney achieved his target because of that.
Right now,
which is just outrageous.
That's how the target was written,
and the people that made that target need to be fired.
Well, okay. So first and foremost is, let's just think of it like this. Imagine that. I'll think of a guy, Christian Horner, had a bonus for winning the F1 Constructors' Championship, and he simultaneously competed, and he probably does actually, in junior go-karting. And
just say Formula 2.
Or No. Junior go-karting,
okay,
right?
Fine.
So completely different to Formula 1. Totally different. I want to just point this out. Now, bearing in mind Red Bull's overall budget is quite high, if his remuneration was linked equally to
that is
F1 and junior go-karting, I imagine he would win an awful lot more in junior go-karting than he ever would in F1. So we've already created this perverse incentive. Now, I already thought the ladies' game should be hived away and put in their own union, mostly for their own good, to hide themselves from incompetent bad actors like Bill Sweeney, and also to benefit from what I understand. I have been told this, these are not my words, but because it is the greatest investment opportunity in the sport today, they should hive it off, and they should reap all the rewards themselves, because they deserve that. It's their money. I was told that it's that valuable. Off you go. Stop subsidising the men's game if that's what it really is, and then just have the men's team alone, because the reality of the situation is that it's just draining resources from the men's team. It doesn't pay for itself. It doesn't fund itself. They lie about the sponsorship. It isn't. They did a sponsorship deal for 1.2 million, which was the press release. 1 million of that was for the men. It is just.
We'll talk about inaccurate. I'll say. Let me be generous with it and say inaccurate rather than lying, but.
It's lying.
But I was going to say the Allianz Stadium deal was in the PR statement when that was announced was 100 million over 10 years.
10 years.
In the report, it's over 13 years.
13 years. Yep.
What?
So they've just.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've just completely lied in the initial press release.
One of those, both those things can't be true.
No, they can't both be true.
And just back to the ladies' game, they've committed 20 million a year. We should be on 40 million now, right?
2 years times 20.
Yep, yeah. We should be on. Actually, I think it's 22 million a year, which they committed to the ladies' team, which of course never existed in the first place. So I think the women deserve better than the RFU, but nevertheless, they should be hived off.
But to your analogy, which is quite a good one, if £400,000 was partly related to the performance of the go-kart team, it would take not a lot of money comparatively to absolutely smash all the targets on that one.
Yep.
Yes.
And take off the pressure of what I need to do with
the
main event.
Right? If it's 75% win ratio for the men's team, what's half of 75%, please, Phil?
37.5.
That's the real percentage that the England men's team need to win by because of this. Because the women are going to be at 100%.
So, he would get his target. To my point, that he could have gone off on a yacht, gone around the world, done nothing, and still got £358,000 in bonus.
Well, the men's was 58%. So it's crackers.
And again,
equally weighted.
The people who came up with these targets and signed them off need to be fired.
So I think,
as well as Bill Sweeney fall on his sword.
I think what we've got here, right, is I mentioned the term before, but I'll mention again, yesterday's men. And the reason I say that is because they were obviously solving for issues which never needed to be solved for. For example, we have Tom Aloob as the whatever he is,
chairman,
and he's there purely because look, we can say we've got the first black chairman. This is phenomenal. And then you look at the ladies' game, and the inclusion's important, and they're solving for the wrong things. So I think if you look at what's going to be the reality of the situation going forward, people are going to say no to this. They're going to be disgusted that they've used the ladies to bolster the men's results. That in turn is going to hurt the ladies' team. I think the whole inclusion diversity agenda should go in the bin now. And I think it probably will, because the harsh reality of our economic situation, not just in rugby, but in the nation, is we're basically in managed decline. Like we are not in a good place. And when you're not in a good place, you can't have these luxury beliefs. And that's all this is. It's like we are going to prioritise someone else's social priorities over the running of the sport. You look at what they're doing with the ladies now, and I believe most of that is all due to Bill Sweeney feathering his nest for the next job.
Well, just on that, and so again, if I wanted to straw man Bill Sweeney, steelman Bill Sweeney and the RFU board, and Phil, you work with executives. JB, you have clients who are executives. My understanding of the point of targets and performance-related pay in this, at executive level, is those targets should help engineer the outcomes which the organisation has said that it wants. So in that respect...
Incentivise the outcome.
Incentivise the outcome. So in that respect, the RFU as a whole has incentivised men's and women's equally.
Yeah, where's that come from?
Of the national team.
But where is that priority
No, I agree. I agree. It's participation levels is another one we haven't got to yet, which Bill Sweeney achieved his participation levels target.
For men, but not for women.
For men, but not for women, despite the numbers going down over a 5-year period, because they went up over a 1-year period, which was from coming out of COVID, which is when we talked about this during that whole period. Rugby union was absolutely horrendous at getting back playing. It was awful. So no wonder so many people left. But as a result, it meant, we've gone up from last year when we lost about 25% of all rugby players in the country.
Very suspicious activity going on with the GMS. Yeah, I just don't. So, sorry, GMS, for those who aren't familiar with it, is the game management system. You never used to have to sign to do this. You have to now go online and sign up.
And now, I can tell you now, every single university player to play in Bucks, which is nothing to do with the RFU, has to be signed up on GMS. So I think they're just beefing up their numbers.
I completely agree with you.
In any way they can.
Completely agree with you. I think that's what they're trying to do with they don't care about the game as such, but they care about their numbers so that can be inclusive rugby, whatever the hell that is.
So it should be called the gaming management system.
Yeah.
They are gaming the system.
Exactly right. So I think there's some jiggery pokery there too. But back to my point, where did these targets come from? I think Bill Sweeney thought when he goes for his next job, the story he's going to sell is not, look, I took the men's team somewhere, because that's really hard. He'll sell the story that we became more inclusive. We became, I don't know.
Well, that's actually the target that he failed. Ridiculously,
the two he failed on.
Win percentage, participation, finance, the ones where you go, RFU have done an objectively poor job.
Yes.
He got those 3 targets. The one he didn't get was inclusiveness.
So he failed on participation for women and girls, and also for rugby inclusivity. Those are the 2 that he failed on.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
but the fact that those compartmentalised parts of his bonus were equally weighted. So
they should not be exactly.
So not only does he get the same amount of weighting for women's first team and men's first team, he gets the same amount of weighting for the elite team's performance as with rugby inclusivity.
Yeah, they don't, as far as I could see, explain what rugby inclusivity is.
What does rugby inclusivity help anybody with?
And I don't even know what it means.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can tell you. I mean, say if it's like, look, there's some games out there which are worthwhile in their own right, okay? But being involved with rugby union, it doesn't help me if, say, Talk H has a walking rugby team. It doesn't help me if Talk H has, I don't know, a so-called mixed ability team. It just doesn't help me. It's no use to me. Right, what we're struggling with week in, week out is getting lads to play full contact rugby union. That is the name of the game. This is why we're in this business. We're in this business to play full contact sport. So broadening it out to this inclusive, who cares? Who cares?
Well, but again, and this is where you would have to sort of defend Bill Sweeney and the board and go, well, if those are the targets that have been set, then they're delivering them, because again, you look at some of the decisions they make and you go, oh, right, well, if that's as Phil says, show me the incentive, I'll show you the behaviour. If that's the incentive that's been laid before them, it's because that's the outcomes that they want. And of course they're doing that. Well, no wonder, rather than just embracing touch rugby, because it already exists, because World Rugby and the RFU don't own touch rugby, they're trying to spend a load of money to invent their own version of touch rugby.
20 million been spent on T1
to reinvent the wheel, just so they can tick the boxes of participation.
That they own it. It's not going to help. It's not going to. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they've seen something which I haven't. But the battle that we have in rugby union is, well, getting men to play full contact. All this other stuff doesn't matter. It matters not one jot. If you can't play the sport, no shame, go and support it. And it's not to say that there's nothing. I'm not saying that it should be prevented. If someone's motivated to do a walking rugby team or a mixed ability rugby team in the same way that you were motivated him to do the under-17s, you should do that. In fact, I'd say the under-17s is far more important than any inclusivity scheme. Because as soon as you don't have a men's team, your whole club dies. Your whole club, right? If you think you can run a club on a women's team and a mixed ability team, you are nuts. You are absolutely insane.
I'm sure there are cases where it does happen, but for the most part, that kind of is just how rugby clubs work. It'd
be great if you could. It'd be great if the women's clubs could be independent entities on their own. That'd be fantastic.
Rugby works, right? Because there are generations of men that have played this sport and they love spending their children's inheritance on players. They just do. I don't know what it is about it. Or they just do. It's like a hobby.
Or the old boys that will come and prop up the bar.
That's exactly what I mean.
Every Saturday afternoon.
That's exactly.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought when you say children's inheritance, it sort of means that you mean like a benefactor.
Actually, a benefactor. But actually,
the patrons.
Yeah, but all these guys, all these patrons, right? So we have a handful of them in Didsbury, and they don't pay anybody any money, but they will buy the boys beers, and it's awesome to see them there. And that is what was built generation on generation. Women's rugby simply doesn't have that. They play on a Sunday. It just, I love watching the netball. I love watching Trafford netball. Trafford netball's been going for years and years and decades. It still doesn't have that.
Well, right? It's just, and it's not even a criticism. It's like so the women's Premiership are extensions of the men's team, but the men's team are rooted in history that goes back 150 years in some cases.
And it's a horrible thing to say. I'd rather the women's teams be like Firstwood Waterloo, who took it seriously and have got a real rich history in that game. When you see the women in the Leicester Tigers kit, they own none of that history. They earned none of that history. Like, not a single second of it was earned by the Leicester Tigers ladies. Well, and yet they get to appropriate the kit.
Well, you could argue.
Makes no sense to me.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, you could argue the individuals, like say, I can't think of a Leicester player, whatever the case may be, but the woman wearing the 15 jersey for Leicester Tigers women has earned it as much as Freddie Stewart has.
No, I don't think that's right. Because that Leicester Tigers jersey, right, is a vestige of all the things that Leicester Tigers have done. It should be a completely different jersey. I don't mind if Leicester Tigers lend all of their staff and all their facilities and everything they have to a Leicester team, but it shouldn't be Leicester Tigers. They should find their own heritage and their own history. And I think that's really important for them. In the short term, it's better for them to be called the Tigers, right? Because there's a bit of brand recognition. But what they need is their own history. And that's really cool. If you built something from day one, and we are, I don't know, Leicester something else, that's so much cooler than just appropriating someone else's kit and someone else's history that you have nothing to do with. Like, it'd be same as me, setting up the men's team for, in football parlance, as Doncaster Bells. Like, I had nothing to do with those great ladies' teams in, like, the 1970s. It'd be absolutely ludicrous. It'd be much better to start my own thing and build my own history. Maybe in the short term I get a little bit of a pat on the back, but in the long term you need your own history. Otherwise you'll just carry on failing.
There you go. Any thoughts you've got on old Bill?
Well, yeah,
Bill enjoying his £1.1 million.
Do you know what? I think he's done an objectively poor job. I think the way that the tackle height law was communicated was
and then abandoned
was maybe
completely abandoned.
Maybe the worst thing that he's been involved in, but also that the getting rugby back going after the COVID period was horrendous. And I think for those two reasons, even more than this, he should have been gone.
Yes,
but I want to know exactly who proposed, agreed, and or signed off those targets.
Well, having been party to a handful of Lancashire meetings, I can tell you that this sort of attitude of the great and the good runs, it's certainly prevalent in the Lancashire committee members, the RFU council members, who are just interested in nothing but these sort of issues. These sort of issues. I think things will change. I think as things get tougher, only things at work will be prioritised. And I think all of this, as I said before, like these luxury beliefs, they'll all go by the wayside because we can't afford them. I think that's a long and short of it. We cannot afford to do this.
I look forward to the South Africanisation of Britain, but mostly the rugby team.
Yeah. The rugby team that only works.
If the rugby team half as good as the Springboks, will be doing okay.
Wales is almost there, actually. Wales is almost there, but the rugby team is completely dysfunctional.
Well, for the last 10 years, like we've joked that when Wales were good under the Gatland era, the Warburton, the Jamie Roberts, the Tipperick, the Lydia, the Alan Wynne-Jones, that era of all those great players, and many more that I've not just mentioned then, they're having such a horrendous time.
Awful.
In the regions with the WRU that as soon as they got in with Gatland and there was some semblance of an organisation, they played like
discipline.
Actual world beaters.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. That's exactly what happened.
But now now everything is falling apart. Literally,
hey, mark my words.
Apart.
I think Wales will be good in Six Nations. I think 3 teams are going to improve drastically. Wales, England, Exeter.
Ooh.
Well, just on just in terms of traditions and real positives that are being pulled from the past back into the present day. Got an email from Luke Bright, contact eggchasers@gmail.com, and he said, and he was referring to Ireland against Australia. I'm not sure I can remember a test match in recent years where I love both kits so much. The 150-year IRFU shirt has been done brilliantly.
With the white collar.
The white collar, the covert sponsors, paying homage to the past with the original crest.
Original crest, eh?
Fair play, Canterbury. They've nailed this one. They did it with England for the 150th anniversary a few years ago.
And the Bath 150 anniversary.
Well, they did the 100th anniversary kits for England versus Australia, and I believe England played in navy blue and some hoops, and Australia played in what looked like Waratah's kit, I think. And that must be 20, 30 years ago.
That Ireland jersey is so lovely.
It's cool, that one.
Is that the one they've been playing in all year?
No. Just yesterday.
I didn't see yesterday's game at all, so I don't know what it looks
yesterday.
Like.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm just seeing if I can find a picture for you. In fact, someone put it in that EggChasers RFC group.
Did anyone watch any of the rugby this week? Did anyone watch Exeter or anyone watch Bristol?
Highlights for both, and I watched most of the Sale Leicester game.
Oh, Sale Leicester as well.
You were talking about going to it.
So, I was going to go to Sale Leicester, right? This is what happened. I spent the 50 quid on the tickets.
Perfect.
I'll never do that again. Because I'm stupid, I forgot to double check where the bus goes from. So the bus used to go from like the ski slope to the stadium.
I've told you the secret place to park.
I know. But I thought, actually, I have used the bus before. It's dead easy.
Yeah, the bus is good.
It's dead easy, right? So me and my daughter parked up in David Lloyd, walked around the corner, 15 minutes to go, got to the bus stop, no buses. And the bus drove past, and I thought, do you know what, I best Google this. And they've changed it to somewhere in the Trafford Centre.
Yeah.
I'm like, so now I've got to walk back. Now I've got to get to the car park, get on the bus, get into the ground, find my tickets, because I don't have them. I thought I'd pay £50 not to do this. And I thought, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay £50 not to go. So I asked Lucy, do you want to go? And she goes, no, not really. And that was it. We just left it.
Did you listen to your and her favourite song on the way back? Gotta pump it up.
Yeah.
That
is lush, isn't it?
That's the Irish jersey.
There's Caelan Doris and Bundy Aki.
Yeah, just Caelan Doris and Bundy.
They're the only people wearing that kit.
Yeah.
Why do they do it?
It's a lovely kit.
It's just absolutely stunning.
I'm brave.
So what can you tell us? Because I didn't learn much from a minute and a half of
Andrea
Piardi
Piardi is a brilliant referee.
Okay.
Okay.
He let the boys play.
Is that the bald-headed
Italian?
Yeah. Sam Prendergast needs to put on a few kegs.
Yeah, so that was an interesting call because Crowley's number one.
Yep.
Right.
He'll be playing against England in.
Yeah, that's what I'd expect. But it's good for Prendergast to get another crack because he had a really tough first 20 minutes that we mentioned last week, but played well, came out well. So it's good for him.
But Simon Easterby's been Andy Fowler's left Simon Easterby, not in a bad way, in a good way. He's left him in a position where he could legitimately pick Frawley, Crowley or Prendergast against England.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty cool place for Ireland to be, because there's
quite
not
a nice problem to have.
There's a lot of positions that they're not like that in.
Loose head
prop being one.
Yeah. Hooker, they've got options, particularly when Sheehan comes back.
Yeah.
Centres, they've got options.
Yeah.
Wings, they've got options. 15, 9. Casey's... everyone's a bit of a drop-off from Gibson Park, but Casey's not a bad player.
Yeah. That was good.
Back row, they've got options. Yeah. Second row, they've got options.
Well, the way Kieran Marmion played this weekend.
Yeah. Marmion had a great game for Bristol.
Yeah.
Give him a shout.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. One thing I noticed again is I've never been to an Ireland game in Ireland. It's the first Ireland game I've been to. I've been to Leinster games a bunch.
Yeah.
But in Dublin, but there's so many men there with lovely singing voices. You know, like that proper warble. Fields of Athenry. There was a few guys behind me, like just singing with such an amazing singing voice. The Fields of Athenry, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've done Dublin a few times, but did Ireland versus the All Blacks a few years ago.
Oh, nice.
In 2018,
Chicago 25.
Yeah, it was after I think it was the same season after the Chicago game. They played them twice in this season, and everyone was expecting an Ireland win after that, and the All Blacks just suffocated them.
Yeah.
And it was a low scoring game. It was something like 22-7 or 22-8, something like that to the All Blacks, and it was great, but it just never looked like Ireland were going to win. So the crowd got a bit subdued towards the end of it, which was a shame. It's a great place to go and watch rugby. The Aviva was awesome. So we saw Exeter Leinster in the Aviva, didn't we?
We did.
And it's the fact Ballsbridge is just good crack right there. And if you want to stroll into town, you can walk into town.
I don't really remember much of Dublin because we were staying in... we weren't even meant to go to Dublin. It was like a last-minute thing.
Oh, so that one. So when we did that, we were staying in Belfast. We got the train.
Oh,
so
nice.
We watched Ulster Quins on the Friday night.
Oh, amazing.
We were on like the 8 a.m. train.
Yeah.
We were out till 3 a.m. and on the 8 a.m. train. First train out of Belfast.
Champagne with breakfast, which I made. I had to wolf it down.
Yeah.
I think we took our bottles of champagne with us, but are there laws against drinking?
Got our champagne confiscated.
We did get our champagne confiscated
at the train station, which was admittedly we were swinging from the bottle at 8 a.m., which was a bit ridiculous,
but delicious,
but also delicious. And then
we were chatting on the way down.
Yes,
about like our favourite players, and my favourite player,
who we were looking forward to seeing in Exeter.
Yeah, we were actually. I can't wait to see.
What was the game? It was
Exeter versus Leinster.
Who was a player that me and Phil
2018,
were
2017
organically raving about, and we couldn't wait to see play. Who was that? Who was that player?
Dave Ewers.
No.
Was it Don Armand?
No.
So was it Leinsterman?
Not a Leinsterman.
Yes. No.
Oh, Gareth Steenston.
No, yes, it was.
Steeno.
We were raving about him, and then out of nowhere, someone goes, "That's my son."
Oh, you're joking.
Oh, right, wow.
There are jokes about everyone in Ireland knows everyone. Everyone in Tullow knows everyone from Tullow. We just happened to be on the train with Steeno's parents and extended family.
The same happened to me when I was raving about the exploits of James Forrester. And someone on the train, he's my brother-in-law. It's like, what? Yeah. Forrester,
that's one thing. So there's been a couple of times when JB's been like, "Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I was there with me on my travels when I've met people." And the first one was when I was in Marseille, sat next to Charlie Morgan.
Charlie Morgan,
friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod, Charlie Morgan. You were very impressed with that one. And the second one was in South Africa when James Forrester turned up and we had coffee.
Incredible. I'd love to meet James Forrester. Well, I never told a story before, but I was at Wasps in the Rico, sat next to Carol Borden, who's comfortably the most famous person in Britain. I don't care what you say. Everybody knows who that lady was. I was like, Carol, stop talking. I believe that's Sean Perry. That is Sean Perry. As I live and breathe, that is Sean Perry. And it was.
You stood up Vorders for Sean Perry.
100%.
Yeah.
He was doing coaching at the time with some of the scrum halves in Wasps.
Oh, I love it.
Coventry welder.
I feel like we should talk through a little bit more rugby that we have seen then. Bristol, JB, are you slightly conflicted at the minute? Because Steve Diamond's doing amazing things with Newcastle, which you're delighted about.
Yep.
But towards the other end, at the very other end of the table, Pat Lam is doing amazing things with Bristol.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with it, isn't it? They look pretty good. Did you see the penalty move?
Yes.
I had to watch it a few times to understand what happened.
That was lovely. Ireland did a similar thing. Was it last week against Fiji? Yeah. That was very, very nice. When I was seeing them line up, I was like, why is AJ there? Why is he so close to the danger zone? Is he going to be carrying? No, that's why.
Yeah, it is conflicting because I don't particularly like Pat Lam, and I thought he was done. But I think there's a lesson, isn't there, which is don't get rid of the coaches unless you have someone clearly better. Because they do turn it around, I think. Exeter fans, I'm not Exeter saying this at the moment, but it can't take many more losses before.
No, do you know what I think the lesson of Pat Lam is, and he's probably learnt this himself, is staying true to your
I think so.
philosophy and your principles.
No,
there are times to change. I remember being on BT Sport and interviewing him a bunch of times, and I used to actually put him through the ringer a little bit in those years after they lost that semi-final to Harlequins.
To Quins, yeah.
And I used to ask him a lot of questions like, Pat, do you need to add a bit more balance into your game? Are you just attacking too much? And I used to ask him questions like that quite regularly. And I'm not saying I caused him to change, but it was clearly a thought that a lot of people had.
I think that Harlequins loss made them change
100%, and he did temper the way that they played. And now he's gone back to, this is what we are, this is what I'm going to do. I'd rather go out rolling the dice.
It's definitely a better way to
go out on my feet rather than on my knees.
Yeah, it's definitely a better way to do your business. If you believe in a certain way, you should do it. This brings me to a really interesting point. A team we've always spoken about, but I'd like to know your opinions on it. Gloucester have only scored one try from a maul this year. Now, the reason I found that remarkable is because what was the calling card of Skivington when he first showed up?
It was the driving maul.
And I just wonder,
the point we can probably even now mention do you remember there was a tactic we found out about?
There's two tactics.
There was two tactics we found out that they were using that made their driving maul so good.
And allegedly they were first, but it's kind of ubiquitous now. Like everyone uses them. So the first one was using those exercise bands to pull people out of mauls. So they'd set the maul up, you'd have the bands around you, and they'd pull you out of position.
This is in training, not games.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were attaching it to the opposition boys and then ripping them out. And the other one was to maul over crash mats so you could keep your feet. So those two small innovations just created this ferocious maul. And that's what they were doing. Like, they had a bloody good season. They might have been like second or third in the table by Christmas.
And I think they were top of driving maul tries at one point.
They might have beat Saracens once, maybe twice, when Saracens were good. So it worked. Now, the fact that they don't do any of that now, and they don't really have an attack coach, I don't know what this means, actually. Does it mean Skivington's given up and do what you want?
No,
what does it mean?
I'd say just a parallel to draw one thing I did think watching in the Aviva Stadium yesterday is Ireland's success or failure is not entirely, but very, very heavily linked to the success of their line-out.
Yes.
All three of their tries came from line-outs.
Mm-hmm.
And Ireland's line-out has been abysmal for a while, to the point that I think Paul O'Connell will maybe justifiably lose his job fairly soon, because it has been woeful.
Yeah, line-out's a tricky one.
And yeah, it's a strange one, because they all pretty much all play for Leinster. So it's strange, whatever's going on. But Ireland have found November difficult. Not because people have been making some big things, these players are all getting old, blah, blah, blah. No, their line-out's been dreadful. And it's so central to how they play. It's one time in the game, as we've talked about, where between 10 and 16 men are all stuck in one place and there's space elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Gloucester are taking advantage of. The line-out is still their biggest weapon, but as a launch play, not as the end in itself.
It's a danger of focusing on philosophy, isn't it? Like, if you have a philosophy and you neglect your basics, rugby's fundamentally about your basics, and then you can do everything else. I mean, I tell you, Bristol will be an interesting one, because Bristol do score a lot of driving mauls, and they do have a good line out. And you can't do what they do without ball.
But it's the dual threat, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's because when they go for the driving maul, it's because the opposition aren't putting enough men in because they're worried about Bristol's attack.
Exactly right.
And then as soon as they do put enough men in to stop it, then you've opened up space for Gabriel Ibitoye and
everyone else
to wreak havoc.
Yeah. And if Gabriel Ibitoye is the reason that they want to, do something different with with their defence, maybe focus more out wide. Then you can have space on the inside channels. It's fine. Rugby's all about basics and trade-offs. But yeah, every team relies on line-out ball. Line-out ball is the single best source of ball for any attacking play.
Yeah, for strike move.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%.
What you say stacks up.
100%.
So Bristol looking good. Good to have Mata playing for them. Marmion looked ace. Ibitoy, obviously. Ravuvu, just looking very good.
Should Ibitoy be on the... I know he played for England A. Should he be closer to the England thinking?
Well, I mean,
maybe.
Why not? Why not?
Because at international level, that X Factor stuff, you don't get as much opportunity to do it. And you need, much like you say about your line-out stuff, you need your fundamentals.
Do you need your fundamentals? I mean, look,
he's not chasing box kicks. No. He's certainly not as good as Roebuck or Freeman or Feweboso or Freddie Stewart
ace.
in that aerial battle.
Or any of the Springbok kick chasers who are brilliant at it. The answer is we never knew Gus McCarthy was an international rugby player until he played in international rugby.
Yeah.
Throw him in, see what he can do.
Yeah.
I think you field, if you're not going to be the traditional thing which I want, which is someone that can kick, someone that can catch and chase balls, you have to be exceptional at the thing you do. And he is that, isn't he?
He is. He's absolutely
give it
exceptional.
A go. Because that's, I guess, how the game is transformed by someone who who am I thinking of? Corbetti. He's an exceptional talent, so you just throw him on the field. It doesn't really matter. If he didn't chase kicks all day, I'd probably forgive him.
Yes. Because he's outrageously talented.
He is outrageously talented.
Outrageously talented. I'm just going to rattle through a few thoughts. Yes, Joe Marler retired. There's another thing that happened.
I think he'll go down as one of the great England players.
95 caps with a few little sabbaticals in there.
Yeah. He could have easily had over 100.
Whether he's one of the best ever loose heads, I don't know. He probably is a top 5 loose head for England, I'd say. I don't know, something like that. But I think in terms of the character and name recognition, you think about the players that are household names even to this day from the 80s and whatnot, I think he's in that sort of level. I think people remember Joe Marler a long, long, long time after he's finished. I think Joe Marler might have finished playing rugby, but I don't think he's finished with rugby, not by a long way. I think he's going to be a name for quite some time.
100%
agree with that.
Yeah. I think he'll be on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here next year.
Yeah, something like that.
And we'll probably go down better than Haas did. not that Haas did anything wrong, but it just didn't have it. It didn't elevate him in the way that I thought it might.
Well, he was already pretty high up.
Yeah. We mentioned Gloucester. Bath beating Exeter. Good game.
Close game. Closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think Exeter have got some green shoots there. They're going to be all right.
Yeah, the Exeter game, sorry, we could not spoke about that. The scoreline didn't represent what that game was at all. Exeter were far, far more clinical than they'd been previously around the rucks, in particular, which I like. Slade was quite good, but yeah, he was quite good. The scrum was much better, and that's against Thomas DeToy and co. If it wasn't for, I think Sarah Cox got a call wrong. There should have been a penalty try.
Is that the pass from Slade to Faye Roboso?
Yeah, that was 100%.
Ted Hill got the yellow card.
Yeah, that should have been a penalty try.
No, that wasn't the Hill. That was...
It was Ted Hill got the yellow card.
But he got the yellow card for the head contact with...
yes.
Who got the yellow card for the deliberate knock on then?
Spencer. I think it was.
Oh, it was Ben Spencer. You're quite right. Yeah. So, and the argument was given that the pass wasn't going to hand, and there would have been players covering.
So I think it was going to hand. I think she was right in saying that he's going to stop, but at this point, I don't even factor that in. I just say it's a try. If you knock it on there, if he hasn't had the opportunity to score the try, I think it's a try.
Yeah, I would have been happy with that being a try.
Yeah. I'd have been happy. I'm not unhappy with the call either. Rob Baxter was pretty philosophical and went, maybe it wasn't going to hand, I don't know. But,
he's always like that, though.
Yeah, he's always like that.
Raging deep inside.
And Sale were impressive.
Not in the first half.
Bevan Rod and Asher Opoku Fajor,
who can motor, by the way,
did a job.
So I found that really interesting because the first couple of scrums, they were under pressure. They were giving penalties away. And then, I don't know if you saw afterwards, they had Bevan Rod with Doyle and Austin Healy and Danny Kerr. And he was saying he was really pleased, and Sanderson was really pleased that they got their, I think the phrase he used was, they got their fixes in the first half. So they spotted a few things, him and Asher and LCD spotted a few things in the first couple of scrums that had gone against them, and they fixed them within the first half. On the fly,
yeah, fair play.
And what's his name? The coach, Sanderson, said in his interview, yeah, they fixed it, so we didn't have to talk about that at half-time.
Awesome.
They've fixed it in the game,
yeah, I love
which is very impressive for two young props as well.
I love scrummaging chat with another prop. I have no idea what he's up to, but occasionally he'll say, yeah, I've got my side, and I'm obliged to say, yeah, I've got my side too. Well, and then we go forward.
Bevan Rod was really interested in that, and I didn't follow half of it, but he was talking about left foot forward, right foot forward. He was saying he's gone wrong. He knew. Like he was saying, Hayes is a quality operator. Joe Hayes, who he's up against, is a quality operator. He knew he was going to go right foot, but he's got his feet. Rod has got his feet the wrong way round.
What?
I had no idea what he was talking about.
I need to find out.
It's worth watching the last. It's only 2 or 3 minutes with Bevan Rod. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going around the grounds elsewhere, top 14's been a belting weekend. My beloved Bayonne are into the playoff spots.
Oh,
are they?
Win over Stade Francais.
No,
yeah.
It's a playoff spot like 8th or something.
5th.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realise that.
Bayonne are up into 5th.
My beloved Bordeaux had a JB favourite scoreline.
Yeah, I was going to say that one. Bearing in mind, in that Bordeaux back line, you've got Luku and Jalabert, Deportier, Louis Bielbire.
Yep.
9-6.
Love it.
3
Brilliant.
penalties to 2 penalties. I've not seen any of the game, but...
No. Van beat La Rochelle away from home, which is big.
Goodness, that is big. So hang on, I've got Bayonne at 7th, no?
No, they're 5th now.
La Rochelle are 5th?
No, La Rochelle are 6th now. Because Bayonne won.
Hang on, played 11?
Yep, played 11, won 7. You looking at Ultimate Rugby again?
No, I'm not. I'm looking at Google.
No, that's wrong. Bayonne are played 11, won 7, 30 points.
Oh, no, that's because okay. No, yep, that is right.
And then URC, the end of... I'll tell you what, another couple of minutes worth watching is in fact, 5 minutes, I think it is. The 5 minutes of in the red clock time at the end of Stormers against... Sharks against Stormers.
What kind of
Durban.
Sharks have out?
So Sharks had a pretty much full strength. No Ebenet Smith because he was injured, but other than that, it was not far off.
The boys were going to town, yeah?
Yeah, they were going to town.
They've got Fassi, they've got Am, they've got Esterhazen, Pimpy, Hendrickse, Oxnische, Vincent Koch,
Sia
Khaleesi. Yeah.
So it was full.
They've got a strong team there.
It was full bore in the South African derby matches, and Sharks were out ahead, and then the Stormers scored in the 79th minute to make it 21-15 and give a grandstand finish. Sharks kick long to Stormers, who start on their own line, and the attack that Stormers do is just incredible. Marnie Lebock, after they've about 20-odd phases of play, they get there, Marnie Lebock scores a try, then it gets called back for a little knock-on on the deck.
No.
Yeah. There
should be a 3-phase limit on that.
It's amazing to watch that whole period.
It is a 3-phase limit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't when. Maybe not for foul play, but
it's not for foul play, but I think it is for technical.
I remember as you're watching it, you're sat there and the TMO struggling to find this thing. He said, "I'm just trying to find it because there have been so many phases. He had to go through so many breakdowns." And the referee said, "It's okay. You can go right back to the start of the possession if you want.
Let's go back to the start of the game.
Yeah.
Any offence that's not been spotted."
Anyway,
Tim, what can you tell me about Clermont being 3rd?
They're very, very good. They've got Baptiste Jeannot. If you just want a couple of names, they got a winger from my beloved Bayonne.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name? I can't remember. When did
Tim's boy on the wing, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, they smashed Castro, didn't they?
Oh, is this the tall lad? Is he quite tall? I don't know why I'm thinking this.
Oh no, I'm thinking of someone different. I don't think he was playing. Gironde, yeah, Gironde, the winger, is really good, and they're not playing Baptiste Jeannot, but the scrum half to look out for. Oh yeah, he's on the bench. Baptiste Jeannot is like, if he was any other nationality, he'd be starting for most countries, but he's like 5th choice French scrum half.
That's who Exeter should go after.
Yes, him. And
Marcos Kremer in the back row. Patheli Yato's going to the second row.
Back to his best.
Yeah, so they've got massive boys and then just such quick lads. But they've got like a 40-year-old fly half. Can't remember his name. What's his name?
Erde
Paletta, that's the one.
Yeah.
The Argentine boy.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He is ancient. 38.
Wow.
39 early next year.
I see Racing are 8th, which is fills my heart with joy.
Yeah, they lost narrowly to Toulouse.
Oh, well, shame.
Without Owen Farrell and Dan Lancaster at 10.
Ooh.
Dan Lancaster, outside Nolan Legaric, inside Joshua Tuisova.
And
Dan Lancaster at 10.
And Gail Ficku.
One of the best centre partnerships in the world with Dan Lancaster.
Yeah, Dan Lancaster at 10 for Racing is equal in financial scandal to the PPE scandal during COVID. It seems like money badly spent or suspiciously spent on connected party transactions. Dan Lancaster's right up there.
Are you saying that Bill Sweeney's dad was head of the remuneration
That's exactly
committee
what I'm saying. That's
for
exactly
the
what I'm
RFU?
saying.
And didn't we must have had a Simmons head-to-head this week because Joe Simmons was playing and Sam Simmons has now moved to Lyon. But
Has he?
But he wasn't playing, yeah. Oh, well.
Did not know that.
Moved to Lyon in season.
I think so.
Because he was at Montpellier,
He was at
wasn't
Montpellier.
But then Billy Vanapola was at Montpellier.
Took his spot there.
Christ, wow. That doesn't sound good.
Anyway, as for Champions Cup, so this is one of those. I'm genuinely curious to know how many English Premiership or England rugby fans have got subscription to Premier Sport.
So I do because of.
I think I do.
Because of Ulster, but I don't use it that often.
I think if you know someone who doesn't have a subscription to Premier Sport, they can listen to their favourite teams play in audio form on the Sunday through us. So you should just tell all your mates.
That's a good shout.
That's a great shout. So is it Champions Cup?
Champions Cup next weekend.
Well, who are the fixtures, Phil?
Good question.
Just Premiership fixtures, please.
Yeah,
we'll do all of them.
No, please don't.
Just Champions
Cup. Just Champions Cup. You mean?
Champions Cup Friday night. Bath host La Rochelle.
Christ,
that's a great way to kick things off.
Okay,
that is a good start.
I'm interested.
So who would that be? Could be Thomas the Toy Loosehead up against Owini Atonio Tighthead.
And then or Abano on the Loosehead.
Sorry, it could be Weenie Antonio, or it could be Jean-Henri Colomb.
Or it could be the Argentinian Joel Sclavi.
Yeah, so, I mean, they've got options. I'd take all three.
That's a
third of the game each.
That's a tasty way to start the weekend. Then you've got Sharks against Exeter on Saturday lunchtime.
Yeah.
In Durban. And Claremont Benetton.
Your beloved Benetton, JB.
Yeah. And then Northampton v Castres.
Yeah.
And Stormers v Toulon are the 3:15 p.m. kickoffs. And then Saturday evening, Munster Stade Francais.
Yeah.
Saracens Bulls. Oh, that one feels quite good.
Nice, yeah, that's quite tasty.
Glasgow Sale and Racing Quins are the late kickoffs. So the Thunderdome, Quins in the Thunderdome is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, it is cool.
Sale at Glasgow's will be a pretty tasty game as well.
Yeah, I quite like that.
The problem with European Cup, I have no idea how any of these games will go because I don't know anything outside of Premiership.
Quins beat Racing.
Yeah, I seem to remember
in La Défense last year, didn't they?
They did beat him in the Thunderdome.
No idea.
They ran them close anyway. And then on Sunday, Bordeaux Leicester.
Nice.
That's a good away day for Leicester fans. Toulouse Ulster. Good luck, Phil. Bearing in mind a near full strength Ulster couldn't beat Leinster with 19 internationals missing.
They still had at least a dozen internationals playing.
Yeah.
But you're right.
I
was hoping you weren't going to mention that one.
And to finish it, Sunday, 5:30 p.m, Bristol host Leinster.
Bristol Leinster. That'll be cool. That will be a good game. Last season, Racing 92-28, Harlequins 31 in La Défense.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah, interesting. Be interesting to see what sort of a team Bulls send over.
If they send one over at all. If they even bother.
I think, weren't they away this week in the URC? So they might have...
Was it not all South Africa?
Hold on. Let me have a look at... Yeah, they just played Connacht. They played Connacht away with it. So Bulls have got a full strength team over. They've got a full strength team over. Pretty much.
Moody, Creel.
Yeah.
Usun.
They've maybe stood down at what's his name? Arendse. Or has Arendse gone to Japan already? I can't remember. Anyway.
Can't keep up.
They're going to be decent. Right, I think we're done, aren't we?
We're all done. We're absolutely done. We're all finished.
We are.
Definitely done.
And I've got to go and see if I keep checking my message. So the reason I was late is because my kids are at a gig. Fontaine's DC from Dublin. They're in Manchester tonight. They're very good.
Are they?
They're very good. And but the age thing, they got stopped at the door and not let in. Because if you're under 18, you have to be accompanied by someone over 18. So I had to go, and I was like walking around just trying to find a stranger that would pretend
to be their dad,
know them and get them in. And then in the end, as it turned out, one of Louis' friends' dads was going to the gig.
Oh, perfect.
And so I managed to meet him. So I was stood outside trying to get the kids into a gig.
God, today's society is so miserable, isn't it? We do live in a miserable rules-based society. I hate every second of it. Like, I remember being 15 going for my first pint.
There was always one pub that would run the risk and let people drink underage.
Always. As long as you sort of minded your own business and shut up, you'd be fine. And now everything is so litigious, and there's just no flexing of any rules for anything.
Oh yeah, but you know what they do around here? Your kids will be doing this if you're still around here in a few years. But they go to Turn Moss, just up the road, and do what we all used to do. Take a ready mix bottle and go and drink in the park.
Good for them. Good for them. But, what a stupid rule. Like, kids get tickets, and, what are they hoping to achieve here? Just make someone's life miserable. I fucking hate the world. I really hate the world. And I particularly hate Britain.
On the flip side, I was thinking as I was there, it's like, oh, man, living in Manchester when you're young is cool.
Yes, it is.
Really cool. The fact I was there helping my kids get into a gig, it's like, what a wicked place to grow up.
I tell people, particularly family of mine, why don't you come back to North Wales, get a house with a garden? I'm like, I've got a park nearby. Why do I need a garden? I mean, I know people like gardens. You've got a lovely garden, Phil, right? But I think, when I was growing up in North Wales, all I wanted to do was go. Ironically, I've never been to a gig ever, but just the ability to go or watch some football or watch some rugby. We had no professional sport. We had no culture of any type. You've got very few bars and restaurants. Living in Manchester is ace. I mean, it's getting progressively worse, but it is ace.
No, don't worry. The clock is ticking on when I'm going to check out of the city. But for now, the positives still outweigh the negatives. But living in cities is getting progressively worse.
Oh, I think when they finally introduced the purge, the 1 year a night, the 1 night a year. I think that'll probably be when I call it a day.
There's things I can't say, so we'll end the podcast now. But when I went to London to go to Twickenham the other weekend, it was because I used to go down to London every day.
Yep.
I have barely been in the last year or two, and even in the space of a year, I'm like, oh my goodness, things have changed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Really? So I was in London earlier on this year, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
Twice. London's great, and you can always find great. But all I'm talking is just a like-for-like comparison. One year to the next, I'm like, things are changing fast.
Yes, I agree with that.
They're changing everywhere fast.
Good time to end the pod.
Let's leave that there. Right, let the boys play, Oogs, and let the boys end.
Beautiful.
Holiday shopping is here, and Amazon Live has got you covered. Shop for the perfect gift from the comfort of your home with Amazon Live's shoppable video experience. Discover the hottest products from influencers and shop while you watch. This season, join Candy Burris from Real Housewives in her holiday Amazon Live series, Generation Face Off, where Candy, her mom, Mama Joyce, and daughter Riley share their favorite stocking stuffers and go-to gifts across fashion, beauty, and more. Watch and shop new episodes of Candy's series Generation Face Off now by going to Amazon.com/CandyLive. That's Amazon.com/CandyLive. For a limited time, use promo code CandyLive for $5 off an eligible product featured on the first episode of the series. That's KANDILIVE. Promotion expires on December 25th, 2024. Limited supply of goods. Terms and conditions apply. For full promotion terms and conditions, go to Amazon.com/candyterms.
At Leidos, a brilliant mind is smart, but a brilliant team is smarter. A ship that finds enemy subs is smart, but an autonomous fleet, that's smarter. Defending against cyber attacks? Smart. Stopping attacks before they start? Smarter. And using AI tools is smart, but integrating trusted mission AI into your technology is smarter. We're not just making technology solutions in national security and health. We're making smart smarter. Leidos.
Discover Hydro, the best kept secret in fitness. Hydro is the state-of-the-art home rower that engages 86% of your muscles, delivering the ultimate full body workout in just 20 minutes. From advanced to beginner, Hydro has over 5,000 classes, shot worldwide, and taught by Olympians and world-class athletes. For a 30-day risk-free trial, go to hydro.com and use code ROW to save $475 on a Hydro Pro rower. That's HYDROW.com, code ROW.